Today we're going to talk about the scientific method. So, one of the questions I want you to ask yourself is, what is the scientific method, or what does it mean to be a scientist? So think about that. What does it mean to be a scientist, and what do you think the scientific method means? I'll give you just a few minutes to think about, or a few seconds to think about that. Okay, so what do you think that means? Well, the scientific method is a process that scientists use to try and solve problems. So oftentimes, like for example, last year when we would look at different experiences or experiments, or like if we were watching Mystery Doug, he might stop and ask and say, well, what do you think? And we would answer those questions. So that's just a process that scientists are using to try and solve those problems. There are a series of steps that scientists work through that help them find answers to the questions that they have. And so we're going to talk about those steps, okay? So you can see that there are 6 steps: the question, the research, the hypothesis, the experiment, the analysis, and then their conclusion. So taking a look at step 1 is asking a question. So oftentimes scientists make observations and develop questions that they can test using that scientific method. So one of the things I'm going to be asking you to do in the next couple of days is ask some questions or take some observations based on a couple experiments that you're going to be doing at home. Okay, so you're going to ask yourself questions such as like, what do you think might happen when you add certain things to it? Okay, or for example, today I'm asking you to think about, how do you think a pencil's made? Okay, so what makes a question testable? Well, it can be answered by designing an experiment. It changes one thing, a variable, to test the effects on something else. Step 2, now we're going to do some research. So scientists use books, science journals, even the internet to help research their question. Their research will help them make a hypothesis. Remember, a hypothesis is an educated guess, and to design their experiment as into what they're going to do. So today I'm asking you to make a hypothesis or an educated guess on how you think a pencil's made. Step 3, so your hypothesis. A hypothesis is an educated guess or a prediction of what will happen in their experiment. It can be written as an if and then statement. So if I was to pour the soap into the bath, then this would happen. Okay, so there's your example. Step 4, experiment. So scientists design a procedure or steps which they repeat each time they do that experiment. They do at least 3 trials of the experiment to help scientists gather more information and more reliable data, because every time may not be the same. So that's why they do it 3 times to see, well, did it happen the same all 3 times? Did it happen the same 1 time out of those 3 times? Did it happen the same 2 times? So that's why they do it. Step 5, analysis. So scientists carefully, I have to move my screen. Scientists carefully study the data and analyze the results of their experiments. So they are going to often organize their data into a table, into a chart, or into a graph. Whatever makes it easier for people to analyze it, to look at it, and tell what actually happened in that experiment. Okay? Scientists summarize the results and then they state their original hypothesis. So they're going to state what they thought was going to happen, and then they tell if it was correct or incorrect, and what actually, if it was incorrect, what actually did happen. Okay? If their hypothesis is correct, scientists may communicate the results with other people or other scientists by publishing it into a journal. If their hypothesis was incorrect, they may go back, refine their hypothesis, and then make changes to that experiment. That is the end of our slide on the scientific method today.